You know those conversations that start one place and end somewhere completely different? That's this one. Steve Durr has built over 2,000 rooms for artists, corporations, stadiums, raceways, and then some. But what happened in this episode wasn't about design. It was about life experience, about watching greatness up close, and what time teaches you. We went off script, and I think you'll be glad we did. This is American Hustle. Steve Durr.
That's me.
Thanks for being on the American Hustle.
You know, man, I'm really grateful. Thank you.
So what's been going on? You just got back from Austin?
Yeah.
Doing some studio stuff down there?
I actually have like four really amazing projects going on there. And I've been going to Austin since the 80s and doing studios. And the stuff I'm doing now is really, really unbelievably cool. One of them is it's in an old 1890s church, a black gospel church. And it's one of the most amazing acoustical environments I ever walked in my life. And so a long story short is we built a facade over the building to get this to have sound thing, but we wanted to leave the legacy wood, the legacy floors, and all these things in place. And so the contractor took all the wood out, put it in a place and saved it. And then we built this facade over the top. So it looks exactly the same, but it's a thing. So the long and short story is the guy that owns it, I said, man, you know, we really ought to have some kind of like, I don't know, way to save this, you know, archive what we're doing. Because I've never done anything on this level of trying to maintain the actual acoustic and the energy in that room, because there's so many people that went crazy. They lost their whole, you know, emotional experience in that church since 1890. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, we need to document this somehow. And he goes, well, who's going to own the rights? And I said, well, it's yours. You're going to own the rights. So about 2 weeks later, I get a call from, this is Dave Johnson, and I'm with This Old House. And we're going to meet you in Austin next week, and you're going to be on television. I went, oh, okay. So I called this friend of mine. I go, hey, man, you don't believe this, but I'm going to be on This Old House. He goes, wow, it's really cool. You going to do the audio? So no, I'm going to be the talent. He goes, oh, yeah, I'm sure they know what they're doing. So Austin for me is a gift. It always has been. I love it there.
Dang.
Music,
This Old House.
This Old House, yeah.
Gosh, that's like one of my dream jobs.
Well, you can come on down next week and get on with me. I've been shooting. It's been on the air for 45 years.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is
anyway,
super cool, man.
I don't know if I'm supposed to tell anybody, but
yeah.
No, well, it's okay.
Well.
And I've told everybody, so you might as well know too.
Well, yeah. You're the fifth interview, so.
No, but it's such a gift. I mean, it's like, you can't be serious, you know? And so I've dropped a couple of F-bombs and we've had to edit shit out, but it's fine.
So they're doing like documentary style of like building out the studio kind of thing?
Yeah. This is not typical studio.
Yeah.
I took the bell tower and made it into a live echo chamber. And it's like 2 stories tall, 3 stories tall. And I'm telling you, Jesus is in that echo chamber, you know? And I'm like, whoa, it's real. It's going to be one of the most profound things I've ever done. And I've done a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
You're right.
What have you built? Like 2,000 rooms?
You know, I got asked that question about a month ago because I was doing myself and Zan that works with me. We were doing a PowerPoint presentation at NAMM. And the guy goes, well, you know, this guy's got 3,000 studios under his belt. And I thought, well, fuck, I don't know. I'll add them up. So I'm at 2,200. So, but they're not all studios. I was a race car fan. And so I really loved racing. So that was a part of my childhood dream was to work at Indy. And I was there for 10 years as a tech, as the, whatever you call it, the technical guy.
Dang.
I know, no joke. It was like.
So you designed the audio around the speedway, or from like the speakers and the stands, or what is that?
Yeah, but the television, the radio, all the production part of it, the sound system and the racetrack. I did 7 NASCAR tracks as well. This is when Pro Tools came out, because I was designing studios, and then Pro Tools came out. I was like, well, you don't need Pro Tools anymore. You don't need a studio. Just put Pro Tools on a kitchen table, and you can make a record anywhere. And so people stopped building studios. Like, oh, okay. And so I grew up doing live sound. I've been on the road with major artists my whole life, but I quit doing it when I started doing studios, and then when Pro Tools came out, it's like, no more studios. It was like, really? I mean, I went through a period of, what the hell, I thought it was me, because I can be offensive sometimes. And so, not really, but in reality, it killed the studio business. Pro Tools did for a while. And so I went to doing PAs. And so I went back to what I had done as a kid. Dang. Nobody goes to a concert to hear a sound system. They go to have an emotional experience with that artist. And so I grew up in that environment. The people I worked with were very kind. I'd build a sound system, some club somewhere, and I'd drag them out at 2 a.m. and listen to it. And they'd go, well, that's real cool, but I don't hear anything but the sound system. So what are you talking about? I don't hear the band at all. Huh, okay. And so at first I was like every other 17, 18-year-old kid. I am so offended. The PA sounds incredible. Well, that's true. And so after a while, I started, I see what you're talking about. Nobody goes to hear a PA.
Yeah.
That's what makes me so crazy today.
Yeah. Go down on Broadway, and it's like, you see those $100 million bars they're building. And I was just down at one, 4 stories, beautiful room. Won't name the bar, but it's like, you get up to the top level bar, there's 2 bow sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
In this incredible room.
Yeah.
And it's like, you couldn't hear who was playing.
Yeah.
Like, and it was a great artist we were listening to. We were in the back of the room, couldn't hear it. It's like, people don't think about the listening experience, And
yeah, they do.
It's like, we're here to sell alcohol, and that's about it. But everybody in the room's complaining about the sound.
That's where the money is. But yeah. Well, I did a club here in town called 888. And one of the things that in the older days, and the dialogue was in vocals for everything. So the PAs that we worked on in that era of life, vocals, you lose the vocals and you don't have anything, except do, doom, 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 doom. And so everything that we designed was based around vocals. When I do work now, even in a studio, I use dialogue as the place to start with the speakers. Because if you remember back in the landline phone, the frequency response was about 300 to 3K. But if I called you up, I could understand and know immediately who it was by the tonality of your voice, but I had that very band-limited space. And so I start everything out with dialogue and then work on either end, because what on either end of that is totally subjective. Some people want a lot of high end, somebody wants low end. But the minute you lose the vocals, nobody really knows what the drums sound like. But they damn sure know, I can't understand anything they're saying. Is that speaker again?
Yeah.
Is there an audio engineer in the house?
It's funny because it's like when you go and do it, I've only experienced sound from an artist, so, I actually went to school for audio,
Did you really?
I went to Art Institute.
Did you really?
And I went to SAE.
I built a bunch of those?
Yeah.
Art Institute?
After I looked at your credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. But
you know what happened?
I spent a lot of money to
They threw all their stuff in a dumpster.
Oh, yeah.
When they lost their lease, they threw the damn
crazy
millions of dollars of shit in the dumpster.
They're also ripping people off. But
Austin.
I was one of them.
It wasn't me. I got out.
I was there a year, and I was in a graphic design class, and the professor, I was leaving. We got to know each other, really cool guy. And he said, Austin, what do you want to do? I said, I came here to be an artist. This guy came in my high school in East Tennessee and told us about this thing called audio engineering.
Yeah.
My parents wanted me to go to school. And so I was like, well, I'll just go to audio engineering. But he goes, dude, if you came here to be an artist, you need to get out of here. And so I was like, well, I want to get a degree in this,
Yeah, sure.
but I don't want to spend the next 3 years here. So I went to SAE, got my associates, spent a lot of money to figure out, I didn't want to do it for a living, but it helped me when I got into the studio. I knew what was going on. I knew my way around a soundboard.
Sure.
I knew,
Yeah.
but I knew I didn't want to be the guy sitting there clipping everything up. I wanted to be on the other side of the glass.
No, you're right.
And so at a venue, usually it's like, all right, let's get the drums, let's get the bass. And so this is the first time I've ever heard somebody say, you start with the dialogue, you start with the voice.
Yeah.
And that makes total sense.
Oh, yeah. Nobody knows what the drums sound like.
Or
care.
Yeah.
Unless he's way ahead of the beat.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
So that's, I've never heard that before, but it makes total sense.
It does, from the standpoint of what I'm trying to accomplish, working with bands and music, a sound check was a joke. As long as all the lines were working, you were fine. We never sat there and dick with drum sounds, because they go out to do a sound check. There's a whole set of energy, what's going on at home, blah, 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 blah. When they walk out there and the lights are up and there's a crowd there, the energy's completely different. The drums sound the sounds come from players. It didn't come from where you got the plug-in set, It's players. And so you walk out there with all that energy and all those people looking at you, the attention of the performance is completely different than it was at soundcheck. A funny story, I did Moody Theater in Austin. Oh, Moody Theater. Is that some of your family?
I need to play there.
And so,
wish it was.
It was Austin City Limits moved out of their 6th floor studio in University of Texas. So 3,500 seat venue, and you're only about 75 feet from the front of the stage. So the opening night, it was Willie and the Austin Orchestra. And so at soundcheck, I couldn't hear Willie singing at all. And I'm like panicked, I'm running around going, every VIP jerk off in the world is going to be there. Can't hear a word Willie's saying. You can see him moving and you kind of catch every other word. So I said to the guy I've known for years that runs the sound, I go, the fuck, he's not singing. He goes, no, he's not singing. He doesn't sing in soundcheck. Oh, thank God. I said, would you mind asking him just sing a couple of words? So he sang. It's like, oh, baby, I was like in a panic. There's no dialogue, I've got 5 other great stories about that building. It's a gorgeous theater. I'm very proud. We don't want to, whatever that award is for theater. And it's very cool. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's dialogue. It's all about the vocals. I got an idea. Listen to Fleetwood Mac and take the vocals out. That thing is doing that. It's that little bitty ass speaker. So we want to know.
Before all the...
What the hell you want to know?
This guy's the craziest guy in Nashville. You won't... He'll out-party you every time.
I grew up partying every day. That's why I didn't stop.
I didn't. I got a late start.
Yeah. I'm glad you went to school, though, because audio school will help you understand whether you're getting bullshitted or not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what education is. It's bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very smart. My mother, same thing. She wanted me to get a degree. You'll never be successful without a degree. I said, well,
Yeah.
I want to make records. Okay.
Yeah. So before all the studios and everything, I want to talk about you as a kid. So you grew up in Baton Rouge?
I actually was born in Memphis.
Okay.
And my mother was from Memphis, and we lived in a compound with my aunts and my uncles, and everybody lived in this great big house. And my mother thought that was what's going to happen in life. And obviously the generation it worked that way, but it was a wonderful place to grow up. My parents were the most supportive. They never argued in front of me. My mother literally took out everything bad in life. She said, when I was a little child, because you'll know enough of it when you get older. And so I didn't know that Little Red Riding Hood got eaten by the wolf until I read the story to my kids. What the fuck is this? I didn't know any of that shit, And my mother was very careful. there's good things with that. There's bad things because I got my ass beat for a lot. Because what the hell's wrong with you, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, my parents were a gift. They really were. They were so supportive and so loving. My mother, when the Boy Scouts called and said, you know, Mr. Durr, your son just doesn't do anything like anybody else. He doesn't want to wear his uniform. He doesn't want to. My mother says, fine, I'll come get him. I don't want him to be a conformist. And I thought, what a gift that is, you know? And there was a lot of examples like that. My mother was unusually gifted in that sense. She graduated from Columbia. And yeah, no shit. And so she was obviously very intelligent. My sister got all that. I didn't get any of that.
Well, you must got something.
No, you don't have to have a 6th grade education to build recording studios. Trust me. You just got to be able to talk to people, you know?
Yeah, but you got to be able to hear too.
Well, that's emotion.
And sense.
Everything I hear is emotionally. Everything that happens in your life, it's auditory, is an emotional experience. You know, if Allison tells me she loves me, that's a really beautiful emotional experience because, you know, it's like doesn't have that much, and she's just not a very emotional person. She's an accountant. But if she's standing behind me and she cocks a shotgun, I know she's off her meds, and it's a total emotional experience. However, it's still emotional. Everything that happens, I worked with Liza Minnelli and Joel Gray, and they had to take me out the concert. I couldn't stop crying. It was the most amazing. I mean, Liza Minnelli was an unbelievable singer, you know, and a lot of shows that I worked in. I couldn't help it. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be emotional. I don't want to be. I mean, I know all the technical shit, but just like you went to school so people don't bullshit you. I went to school not in the formal sense, but I'm like a sponge to learn everything I can about how this shit works, so I can figure out how to make it emotional, how to make you want to be here. You build studios. You want to build one that nobody wants to leave. They want to be there. 80% of creativity is providing an environment that cultivates that experience. The other 20% comes from the talent. But if you're in a dentist office, it's really hard to make a record, you know? And so that's why the lights and the smells and all, and the vibe is everything. When we start a studio project, we have like 13 going on right now. We start a studio project, it's all about the vibe. It's nothing to do with anything else. You know, if you're an artist, you want to be someplace you feel comfortable. Most of all, you feel safe.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard to do in this world because of the internet. That's a whole nother set of safety.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So being in the business as long as you've been doing this, have you held on to that emotional factor the whole time, or was there times where you went through things that your soul got kind of hardened and then you came back out of it? Or have you been able just to maintain that openness to the emotion that's in the room? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is like, as an artist, before I really got into the business, I had more emotion than I've ever had, more creativity. And I got in situations in the industry where it was almost beat out of me. And then after those phases, I had to work back and get that emotion back.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You know?
I think that's impossible not to happen, but some people recover faster than others.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in the least sense of arrogance, but I do think it goes back to my mother. My ex-wife divorced me because her therapist said, you know, there's something wrong with somebody who's happy all the time, you know? And so I think I bounced back. It was like I can go out and party, even at my age, I can party all night long and bounce back real quick. Not as bad, not because I used to, but yeah. Yeah, I grew up in a crazy place. New Orleans is crazy. I lived in Memphis. I moved to Biloxi, graduated from Biloxi High School, worked on a deep sea fishing boat in off summer. And then when I went to college for 2 years, which was, I can really play cards and shoot pool. And I worked on a fishing boat. So what a dream job is that, you know? And so I was out on a boat every morning fishing. Yeah, life's a bitch.
Sounds awesome, though.
It was really unbelievable. You know what's crazy? Do you know who Irma Thomas is?
No.
Irma Thomas played in, this is 1966 when I graduated high school, and she played my graduation in Biloxi. She's still singing and playing her ass off in New Orleans. I'm like, holy shit, she's unbelievable artist.
Wow.
She was real famous on the Gulf Coast. Biloxi at that point was, this is where you want to go? I can talk to you for about a week now.
Yeah, go.
Okay. So Biloxi at that point was another city run by the mafia. And so in downtown Biloxi was a Biloxi Hotel, and in the bottom of it was a pool hall. And women couldn't go in the pool hall. So my mother would stand at the door and go, Steve Durr, if you're in there, you better come out. She's screaming across the thing. But in the pool hall, there was obviously only a men's room and it didn't have a silent door. You open that door, go to the bathroom. There's a door in there. You open it up, it's a fucking gambling casino, huge gambling casino, everything you could think of, like Vegas, in the bottom of the Biloxi Hotel. And so there were all these pinball machines. I broke all the blood vessels in my hand because you get all little 5 balls in a row and win 25 cents a thing. I mean, God, it was just the greatest place in the world. You were old enough to get your money to the counter and tall enough you could buy liquor. You could drive around drunk as shit. I drove a dragster, like a fucking real life dragster with a friend of mine, and I sat behind him, and it literally was a dragster. I'm talking no windshield. I mean, a little short ass windshield and a bucket thing, and we were just down the street in that goddamn dragster. I'm not kidding at all. 327, just pipes sticking up. You know, I don't know how I'm here. I've literally started writing down the reasons that Lord's kept me here for some reason, because I'm up on about number 11. I should be dead. Isn't that crazy? It was really frightening too. I started thinking back, ooh, that really happened.
Yeah.
You know, anyway.
God.
So
That's some crazy stories.
From Biloxi, I moved to Baton Rouge, and that's where I started. I started working with bands in Biloxi.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Baton Rouge and started working in a studio, and we made records and had too much fun. And then we started opening nightclubs, and then it got to be way too much fun. And then in New Orleans, it was just like, we'd start out on Thursday and we'd go to sleep on Sunday night, and it'd start back up on Thursday. That's true. Never went to sleep. Danced all night. Gunga Din, Tipitina's, the Warehouse. It was just a constant draw.
So what was your first studio you worked in?
Deep South Recording.
Okay.
And
how'd you get into the studio world?
My nickname was Stereo. Nobody really knew how to find me, you know. So who did that? I don't know. Some guy named Stereo. I don't know who he really is. And so I was doing a lot of live sound, and people were really impressed with it. And they said, well, come to the studio. So I did. And next thing I know, I was the chief engineer at the studio and fixing shit and everything else.
I mean, you just learned it on your own?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, we only had 12 inputs, so it wasn't like it was a fucking college degree. You know? and you go back to when I mix live sound, you don't even know there's a PA, you know? And so I took that same thing into the studio. You never knew. That's how I got the reputation. When I mixed the PA, you never heard it. You never heard it. Nobody came to hear a fucking PA.
So where'd that come from? I mean, where did that idea come from?
My mentors. When I was 16, 17, I was working in an auto parts, not auto parts, a race shop that built race cars. And we'd take them out on the street, up and down the street, and test them, because we were going to the drag strip or whatever.
Yeah.
And the company across the street was a bunch of nerds with hush puppies and pin pocket protectors and all this shit. And I had long hair and fucking dragsters. And the guy comes out and he goes, look, man, my boss put in a bid for a live outdoor concert when there's non-existent in 68, 69. And they were just starting to have outdoor concerts. Would you come with us as sort of an interpreter to talk to these musicians? Because, I mean, you know, these guys were total nerds. They were doing chemical plants and everything else. And I said, sure, I'll go. It'll be kind of fun. And so I went. And the PA was underneath the stage, a bunch of old Altec boxes and shit like that. And I didn't know anything about it at all. But I could talk to these guys. At least the band would talk to me. I don't remember who it was. I have no idea. I'm sure it was somebody really famous because there were a lot of people there, but I have no clue. Never been able to find it out. And so somebody gave me a joint, didn't know what it was, smoked the fucking thing. And man, that was it. No more loud race cars. My mother was so scared I was to have greasy fingers my whole life. Dirty fingernails from working on cars. That's it. Never went back. Went over and worked for those guys. And so they put me to work in chemical plants. And then we started doing big arenas and LSU Stadium and that kind of stuff. And so it just something I fell in love with.
Dang.
Growing up was a gift. Today's a gift. You got to look at where you are in reality. Everybody's got their shit. We all got it, but every day you can wake up and go out and do something that at least makes you feel better about yourself or something that you feel like you're accomplishing something. I'm really proud of you, man, because I didn't know who the fuck's pressure washing dude? Why is that motherfucker on my Instagram account? I didn't know that was you. I had no idea. And I always thought, man, if somebody's a great singer, great artist, what are you doing with a pressure washer, And then you started this. So you got to be really proud of yourself. As long as, I think as a human, as long as you're accomplishing something, as long as you feel like you're making some progress in your life, you need to shut the fuck up about bitching, right. Because everybody's got their shit. Nobody out there. Now everybody wants to complain about everything.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit, anyway, I'm sorry.
Totally.
I get off on.
Yeah, you're right on the money, man.
Well, you got to be really proud of yourself. You've done really well.
Well, I didn't move to Nashville to be the pressure washing dude. I moved here to do country music.
You know what? If I had to go to Home Depot and get a job, I would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, it's like, I moved here in 2010.
Yeah.
And, I think I always said I got here 20 years too late, 30 years too late. But
well, in some ways you did.
Yeah. But
the 80s
in 2020, it was like, dude, I just finished that record with Mac down in Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
And we were playing that stuff here and before that, gotten out of a record deal, went and did that record down in Muscle Shoals with Mac and Keith in 19. And then in 20, we started shopping that thing around. And I was getting meetings with whoever I wanted in town because it was Mac, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, we just made something. And it was like second week of February, 2020.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was over. For that time period, music industry, everything shut down.
Yeah.
Right. And, I was like, well, in the meantime, I got some extra time, lost 130 shows overnight. I was a touring guy. That's how I made my money. Remembered my dad would go out on the weekends and make an extra $1,000 or whatever.
Sure.
Pressure washing people's driveways and such. And I was like, I got one. I'm just going to go out and do some of that. And went down to Mike Moore's house when he lived here, washed his fence, And then 2020, I'd made more money than I'd made in, any year I've done music. I was like, well, I'm just going to keep this business going. The industry wasn't back. And, bought a rig, had a rig built in Salt Lake City, pulled it back, and started pressure washing, dude,
Yeah.
And I was like, then it got to a point where it was like, okay, now this is going. And originally I did this as a side hustle until music came back. But now this is taking so much of my time. That's when I started to think about scaling. It's like, okay, how do I get this to a point where I can run myself? And so my whole thing, and now it's like, it's running by itself, which prompted American Hustle, because also what that did to my ego at the time. Dude, I was like flying high going, man, I just came off this record that I did with them. And now I'm washing a dumpster pad for Hattie B's, cleaning up fried chicken grease and homeless piss and shit, And I'm like, this wasn't my dream, but a year from that, I had this like overwhelming confidence that had entered my life, even went into my artistry. And I never figured it out. And there was a guy who was like, why do you think your confidence shifted? I said, I don't know. He goes, maybe it's because you felt like a man. Because what I did was, it was like, I didn't wait for the industry to come back. I'm like, I want to create something that will sustain my life and will allow me to do my art and not have to rely on
somebody else
begging for a deal,
somebody else
and signing a deal for, getting paid $30,000 a year to write songs. It's like, who can live off that?
Well,
and also who's cutting outside songs anymore, And so it's been great. But that's what prompted American Hustle. Cause it's like, I believe artists or creatives, or even if you're whatever dream you're pursuing, you, in this day and time, you can create something on the side that could sustain you. It's just like, if I started pressure washing, dude, when I moved to town, when I had a lot of time, dude, I mean, that company would have been sold and I'd be buying the house next to you up here. But, the thing is, it's like
for sale right down the
it's like, but Nashville, when I moved here, was like, and the deals I got in was like, you can't think about anything else. You have to totally immerse yourself in this, and you're not allowed to think about anything else.
See, that's not a creative environment.
Right.
It's that's a job.
Right.
Dude,
I'd walk into the studio in my first deal, my first producer, and I'll say he was a great writer, still love him as creative, but when we were start working on the record, I'd go in to sing a vocal, and I'd get into a verse. He'd stop the track and go, "You ain't got it. Go back to the house." Come back the next day. "Nope, you ain't got it today. Stop. Come back tomorrow." And so that was like 5 years of my life. And then when I got out of that deal and started working with Mac, it was like, I was afraid to sing, and Max was like, just sing. Like, oh.
And he had joy. I did a thing with him in the studio, and it was like, oh shit, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, but that story you're telling about, you ain't got it. That was that came from my generation, because there were a lot of people that took that attitude and did that to people. Rick Hall used to keep 2 drummers, and if the first one wasn't getting it, hey man, Roger, that's not working. Bring in the other guy, and but that was that's so old school, and so destructive of creativity, completely. And in some ways that's worse than auto tune and all that shit.
Well, all of a sudden, I mean, you sit there as an artist, and all of a sudden you're not able to perform because automatically now the studio is a bad vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no.
Walking in the door, your palms are already sweating because I feel like I'm going to get sent to to the principal's office.
It's like going to see your ex-wife.
Exactly.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Now what?
Right.
How much? Are you serious? Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you went through that, because unfortunately the 80s were really beautiful here musically. I was in every studio in town working on the speakers. But at the same time, I'm going to say this to you. It's a blessing, because what I hear coming out of this town now is nothing like I used to think that Picking Up Bones was a dumb song, and now I listen to it and I think it's one of the most brilliant.
Yeah.
On the other hand, what a dumb song. I'm like, oh no, that's fucking brilliant. And Walter Sear used to tell me all the time, Steve, you're not that good. It's just everything else is just that bad. And it's totally true. And so I listen to this stuff now and I think, I don't want to be a part of that. I have no desire to do that. I have no desire to work on any sound system on Broadway.
Yeah.
They probably don't want me because I'll tell them exactly what I think, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's not going to work for me. Listen, I've said to you over and over again, I'd love to make a record with you.
Yeah.
You come here and be like, and just when you want to, when you
Yeah.
feel like it. I got one of my friends is a great songwriter, and I'd love to want to do something sometime. This thing's sitting here and it makes
Yeah.
great fucking records.
I want to do it.
All right.
I want to do it.
We may get nothing out of it, but you can't go there with that. You got to go there and do what you feel. And if people accept it, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Zach over here, we just shot a music video in January. And, but it's also because I feel like I'm almost going back in time before I really got into the industry because I feel creative again.
Yeah.
I've had the space to be creative and it doesn't feel like a job.
No.
And, you realize like I came to town, I grew up on a farm, small town, I never drank, never smoked anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And, I came here and the only thing I'd ever heard before I got to Nashville was bluegrass, gospel, or country.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, I didn't know who Tom Petty was.
There you go.
It was so limited. But I sang about what I knew and farming, small town life, grandpas. And, when I was going through my first deal, it was like, well, wait a minute, let's put this farm boy with the stylist. He's going to be this puppet on a string. Sing this song. We need to start singing more about love and we need to sing this thing. And it's like, well, that's not what I was passionate about singing.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And I can listen back and go, man, even though that vocal could be better now, I can hear the passion.
Yeah. That's
and
all that matters.
Yeah.
Awesome. Nothing else matters. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. I'd listen to somebody who's passionate about their music way over listen to somebody that.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to Johnny Cash records and you sit there and go, he wasn't the best singer in the world.
Oh, no.
But you believe
it moved you emotionally. It moved you emotionally. Yeah, and that's really all it's about.
Yeah,
it's not about anything else. I mean, yeah, there's two different group of people. One of them wants just some background noise that goes pop, 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 and then there's another group, but I don't want to talk about them. And then there's a group of people that want that music to be a part of their life, and that's what for me is missing. We spent hours putting the songs in order on an album, so when you listen to it, it told a story, and the story got to a point that at the end, you couldn't wait for the next record.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, it's just whatever the fuck goes there. No, man, we every one of those records that you listen to that moves you emotionally is a record where somebody spent a lot of time. Oh, no, I don't think that song quite fits here. Let's move this one over there. It's just a different world.
Yeah. So how do you feel like the about the level of entertainment now?
Entertainment or records or music? Entertainment's fucking spectacular.
Yeah.
We just saw Bruno at New Year's Eve in Las Vegas. It was fucking great.
Yeah.
Entertainment, and he says it. I'm an entertainer.
Yeah.
The Rat Pack in Las Vegas in the 60s must have been, and Elvis almost makes me want to cry. I miss that, It had to be unfucking believable. Unbelievable. I mean, you listen to Sinatra and it's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Where's that come from? It really, where do you dig that up? You don't.
Yeah.
You either got it or you don't, And the Rat Pack must have been really incredible. Plus they're funny as shit, So, my piece of advice to you is, in the original question you asked me, of course, I've had those feelings, but rejection is a part of subjective anything. So if you're doing something that's subjective to other people, rejection is always going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. I mean, there are people that don't like the Beatles. Hello? You okay? I hate the Beatles. Everything they do is boring. I'm like, really? Okay, that's fine, Mm-hmm. But no, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who it is.
Sure.
You know, they're
Yeah.
happy with that. You know, I never really cared for opera music, but I'm doing a studio now for a Vietnamese opera singer, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is what they're talking about. And I had no idea. You know.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different world we live in. I personally, and Zan told me not to say this, but I think it's easier to be successful now than ever. I've got some clients in Oklahoma. They're young kids. I think they're probably maybe 30 at that range. And they have this whole thing they've built up. Artists, they have a studio now, and they're unbelievably successful. And they're about 25 million followers on YouTube channel. And I said, man, Patrick, that's amazing. 25 million. He goes, that's fucking terrible. So what are you talking about? He goes, there's 9 billion people in the world. I can't get but 25 million of them to pay attention to me. I thought, ooh, that's how you have to look at it, you know? The opportunities now are greater than they've ever been. The record company was the filter. They decided this is what you're going to listen to. And you made some of those songs I hated, you know, like The Day of the Music Died. Like, God damn, change the channel, you know?
Yeah.
But in reality, they pumped it into you so long and so hard that you started to go, they started to go, yeah, you know, that's okay. It's still, I hate it. I don't want to say hate it. I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know? And you get older, the one thing you got is knowledge, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about anything. You know, it's just going to be, I've talked to people. I have a friend who's 93 and was a fighter jet pilot and landed on aircraft carriers in the Navy. And man, the stories that he tells are like, holy shit, you know? He lived on a yacht, his yacht, in Hong Kong Harbor in the 60s. I'm like, whoa, that's a life, you know? Anyway, wonderful guy, great tennis player, and just an interesting dude.
I will say the one thing about being in the music world is the people you meet. You get to meet.
Yeah.
You know, being in, that's the one thing I can look back and go, it was worth it, because I would have never got to meet most of the friends.
Yeah.
You know, connections. You know, it's just like I brought him here, General Little. You know, brought him over here. Guys like that.
Well, there's some really good ones.
Yeah.
You know, and I've worked with some total assholes too. But most people who are creative are once you get past, you know, as Chris Rock says, you meet somebody new, you're just meeting a representative. You know, at some point they start to become who they are.
Yeah.
So, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Well,
The people I've met in the music business have been overwhelmingly wonderful once you get past the, you know.
Well, even just the people outside the music business that you wouldn't have got to meet.
No, that's right.
You know, otherwise.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, I'm not necessarily excited to go hang out at a music industry event, but if I get booked in middle of nowhere, New Mexico on a military base, I want to meet those guys.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you're right. I agree.
You know, and you've got a lot of those stories. You know, we met, well, I knew Jeff, and then Jeff introduced me to Mike down here, and we met each other.
There's a story all on its own.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, I took Allison to an Easter party one time, and Allison's favorite word is fuck, you know? And so...
I remember that story.
Yeah, and by the time we left there, he calls me and goes, hey, man, we really like you, but... you're going to have to do something about Allison's language. I said, nah, that's Allison.
Yeah.
You know? And, it's a different bird. Anyway, I think in reality, the other thing as you get older, you realize that your real friends are hard to come by. And Mike Moore's one, you know? I mean, I make fun and laugh, but he's really an unusually cool person, you know? Anyway. Now we've saved our ass on that one. I'm just kidding, man.
Yeah, they're sitting live. No, friends, it's like, especially people in this business, they throw around friends. Yeah. You know, and...
Our name drop.
Right. It's
that
like
drives
my
me
friends,
crazy.
My friend said, it's like, Yeah, you've been around them twice. It's like a friend is someone that if you call and be like, Austin, I'm kidnapped in
Yeah, I need to live.
Juarez. It's like,
and now you're right. Oh yeah,
we're figuring out how to,
yeah.
No.
And I think that's most people, man. There's some rotten apples, but not many. Most people are very, very good people, especially in my life. I don't know about yours, but people everybody's got their shit. Can you trust everybody? Of course not. That's absurd. But at the same time, most people are good-hearted people. No matter what country they came from, no matter what color they are, it has nothing to do with it. That whole thing with the racist thing drives me crazy because, shit, I didn't know anything about it. We had, Randy Jackson was the bass player in our studio, slept on my couch, and nobody ever thought about whether anybody was red, yellow, black, or white. Nobody cared. We were just having fun making music, So,
well, they keep on talking about it. It's what Morgan Freeman say. He goes, when he was asking, how do we fix the the racist problem going on right now? He said, stop talking about it.
No, he's absolutely right.
It's like kids, they don't grow up racist.
No.
They get taught.
No. Yeah. No.
It's like, we know you're not racist, but let's teach you how not to be racist. Well, what's racist?
Yeah.
It's like,
that's like taking DEI training.
Yeah.
I need a training for this. You do the job. I don't give a shit. I used to say all the time, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. Now you got to say, if you want it done at all, you got to do it yourself. It's just a completely different world we live in.
Yeah. So what was the moment where you were like, man, I know I'm really good at this and I can start a business doing the thing you do, which is designing sound, finding the emotion, building these venues, and
hadn't got there yet. No, I'm serious, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, not in any sort of an arrogant way.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it, quote, as a business. I thought about it as going to work every day and fucking loved every second of it. And now that I'm at this age, it's funny you say that because yesterday I had a regret that I put together a great big deal and I didn't make enough money off of it. I never thought about it that way. It never once occurred to me. The only amount of money that I needed was a roof over my head, a hot rod to drive, and someplace to go. Jokingly, there was a point in my life when we were making money hand over fist in the clubs, and money was falling out of my pockets, and and this, I didn't have a wallet till I was 35, and didn't care about it at all. It didn't matter. I knew everybody, so I could drink free. I had a hot rod, which I've worked on myself, and it just never was a driving force. And my mother told me that you can go do this. You don't have to go to LSU, but you're not going to be successful until you're 65. And I'm like, hey, Mom, last night I was like snorting Peru, taking acid, and dancing all night long. How about 45? Would that work? Because I'm not going to live to be over 40. That's just not going to happen. And she's like, oh, that's not true. You'd be okay. So I never thought about it. That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked that question before. I think the only way you can be successful is to show up with a smile on your face and enthusiasm, unless you're just a fucking genius, and people can't, there's a lot of geniuses you don't want to be around. But I think that mostly the whole image is, as a friend of mine told me one time, you go out looking for money, never going to get it.
Yeah.
Unless you've got this incredible sense of business. I'm talking about you want to do something you want to love to do, and then the money will come, and that's the way my life's been. But that's because of Allison, because if I made $10,000, I spent 15, and so I'm not bragging about that. I'm actually grateful that I'm not my age, and Allison says I have a hummingbird nest egg now. Okay, well, that's better than no fucking nest egg, And she won't tell me how much money's in it, so don't go buy some goddamn Center Console mug. You're laughing, but it's the goddamn truth, I came home with that Mercedes. She's like, the fuck is this? She drives a Jeep, you know. I was like, yeah, you drive your Jeep. I'm on a Mercedes. My age. That's a whole person's car. You're fucking right. Get in. It's so comfortable. It's like a sofa down the highway. Yeah, she's a trip. But that's the only reason I can have this conversation, because I got $11 in my pocket. But that's a good question, and I'm just being silly. But the truth of it was, I never went out looking to make money. I went out.
But I mean, when I look at, I looked at your website, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, Jesus!" Like, you've got, your, flagpole in the ground in your world, and you're, I see you as Steve, my friend, when I come over here, but I know, like, you can go into pro mode as well, and still keep your, your sense of humility and all that. But it's like the things you've done and built. Trying to figure out how to ask this, but you don't build what you have built by not having a little bit of business sense too, and learning that, right?
Well, yes. That's, and I'm making fun of it, because it's never been my driving force,
right? But yeah, I mean, even the folks you hire to work around you, like,
well, the people I learned from first, that was the most important thing.
Sure,
I've searched out people: Don Davis, Carolyn Davis, Dr. Petronas, Dick Heiser. The people who in my industry were on the cutting edge of everything. And I made a point to go and be with them as much as I could. Now, did I become a disciple? And, no, I took what I thought made sense from each one of those people and applied it to what I did. Yeah. But everything you see on that website came from somebody else referring me. I've never advertised. I've never done anything like that. Do you know why? Because I show up with a smile on my face. I have never, ever felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't do. Never, not one day. Like, I go there, I look at the situation, and I think it's whatever, Branson, that owns Virgin Records. He's got something on Instagram and goes, yeah, people ask you to do something, you have no idea what you're doing. Tell them, yeah, you'll do it. Because you got to go figure it out then, My mother used to say, well, you need to get an education so you have something to fall back on. I don't want anything to fall back on, if I fall back, that means I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, I want to take what I love, what's my passion, I'm going to do that to the nth degree. And if something happens, I'll go to work at Walmart or whatever,
Yeah. You would be a good Walmart greeter.
I would. My father was just a very outgoing character, and that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
We'd go eat somewhere, and he'd start, some conversation with the waiter. Hey, Walter, what's the matter? Come on in.
That's Tommy.
Come on in. How are you?
I'm good.
Tommy, Steve, Tommy.
Hey, buddy.
Two of my oldest.
How are you?
I've actually been here before.
You have? Yeah, you have. Yeah. We had a great conversation. We really did. You want to sit in here? You're welcome.
I'm fine.
Okay. Is that who you're going to interview next?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is perfect.
Okay.
Because what I want this to be is like real.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
What my generation is missing, what the younger generation is missing is realness, like truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's all this hype out there about, hey, do this, that, this, and you're going to make this, and blah, blah, blah. Fact of the matter is, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
And, that's the thing that's missing. So that's kind of what American hustle is. It's not, I'm talking about all this hype and crap about the American dream.
I wouldn't want my false eyelashes, but
you probably got some costumes.
Don't make fun of me, man.
So
no, you're right, and I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that their kids get all their information off a black screen.
Yeah,
they're like this the whole time, and I'm guilty of it too, to some degree. But most of mine just laughing my ass off. There's some funny shit on there.
Then you send it to me.
Oh, I do. Yeah, that's right. Well, here's how you have to look at that, and everybody has the same problem. You get 100 people sending you shit all day long, okay? And you can't possibly read it all. What you take away from it is that motherfucker's thinking about me.
Right.
You know, I'm okay. You know,
That's right.
yeah, it is, because you only send it to people who you care about and know will get it. I posted yesterday, Elvis and doing "Hunka Hunka Burn in Love." God damn it, you know. What a fucking song. What a great players. Everything about that's just like this big emotional ball rolling down the road. Hunka Hunka Burn in Love is so good. You're right. Yeah, you're right. I think you're absolutely right. It's got to be real, you know.
Yeah. So are you that just brings me to a new thought, but it's like, how do you check in with people? You know, like people you care about. You know, you're crazy busy, and we always stay in touch and everything. But you make it a point to check in with folks.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah, I did.
that's important, and I know that's important to you.
Well, interestingly enough, the nice thing about the phone is that when I get something from somebody I hadn't heard from in a long time, I know I'm still in that chain, you know, that chain of hey, what's he doing? How is he? So if you start looking at it as I wrote somebody didn't write me right back, you know, then first of all they ain't doing anything, you know. But looking at their phone waiting for somebody to write them, you know, and so I really like it when I don't hear somebody back from somebody for a week. You know, I mean, unless it's somebody, you know, I'm not. I just like the fact that somebody sends me something every once in a while, or the people that flood my thing. When Allison blows my phone up with shit, you know. But it's fun shit. It's about dogs or animals or something, and so that I know that I'm in that chain of thought, which to me is that's fine, you know.
So being in as many rooms, building studios behind the glass, what is this studio building world taught you about ego? Working with other artists, seeing other artists, uh, and the between the legends and the guys who were just the guys that almost made it. Like, what's that taught you about ego? I'm sure you've seen every bit of it.
Um, hmm. I don't really know because I'm not really impressed. I'm as impressed with people that I meet that are behind the scenes as the people on the stage. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've talked to some artists that were really. I mean, like Sonny Bono said one time in a conversation. He said, being successful is like playing football. Okay, this ought to be good. And he said, no. He said, you're on defense. You're trying to get that ball. The ball's there. If you you can't score until you get the ball, unless something happens. You got to get the ball. And all of a sudden, it's fourth down. You got the ball. They kick the ball. You get the ball, and now you're on offense. All the rules changed. Everything went to a different pattern, and you have to think completely different. And I thought, ooh, there's a lot of depth in that conversation, you know. And so I started paying a lot more attention to what he said after he said that. But it's a really interesting point because it's exactly what happens. The rules are changed, offsides, everything's different. And so that ego thing comes in play with trying to abide by the rules in an offensive experience compared to a defense experience. So in my case, I try to just keep that thing in a neutral, where I treat the guy sweeping the floor the same way as I do, the head artist, and don't get hung up in their own insecurities because you can real quick, you know. But that's a good question. I'll think about that one for a while.
Yeah.
You're pretty smart, man. For from one of the country boys with,
I'm just
No,
I've just been around you bullshitters too long.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
So what was it like working with Johnny Cash?
Oh, well, I'm not sure I want to talk about that.
Okay.
Only because I'll tell you how I didn't understand until I saw the movie And so I was perplexed about a lot of things that were going on around me. But after I saw the movie, I'm like, oh, now I understand. The same way with Rick Hall at Fame, you know?
Yeah.
Rick had a hardness and we got along great. And I truly loved Rick. I mean, I really did. And I think he called me Stevie, took me out right around his farm and shit. But at the same time, I didn't understand because I wasn't there. My mother fucking kept me out of all that. You know, and I see these people's lives growing up like, oh, fuck, you really grew up like that, you know? I don't know if you saw Muscle Shoals.
Oh, yeah.
It's a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
You know? And so once that happened, I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it kept
Makes
happening.
perfect sense.
It
you know?
kept happening to him.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole life.
Yeah. Every minute of his life. Yeah.
Even when he had a ton of success, you know, he had a ton of success and bought his daddy a new tractor and he went and killed himself on it.
I know.
You know, it's like,
how the fuck do you deal with that? You know?
Well, he wrote a song about it, and it was a number one.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
but
Rick Hall, Chips Moman were two of the biggest geniuses on the face of the earth. You know?
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Tommy, don't you agree?
I do indeed.
Yeah. They really were. My experiences with Chips Moman were, you could do a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
Literally, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
He taught me more about the technical aspects of building a recording studio. No idea what he was talking about. No, not from a technical standpoint. As an example, all the headphone systems in the studios built sound exactly like the monitors. Because if you're a guitar player and you're out there and you're taking treble off your amp because the headphones are real bright, and I'm in here adding it back on to get it to sound like a fucking guitar, we're making two different records. And I'm like, really? Yeah. Where'd that come from?
So do you think in this day and time, like if somebody wants to be an audio guy, an engineer or studio builder, that they have to go to school for it?
You know, I built a studio for Mark Ronson in London. And there was a young man there that was a studio designer. He worked in London. We became great friends. He was doing Mark's room. And he, I'm going to answer your question, okay? But Allison says, give him the Reader's Digest version. Nobody gives a shit. So this guy comes in and he's like worried about this and worried about that and worried about this. And that's the sort of, I said, look, I got to tell you, Chris, the most important thing you need to understand is that it's only about the vibe. If it looks like a diner and the lights are pitiful and they're bright and they're ugly, nobody's going to work there. And so I said, here's what you do. You put this little doll on your shoulder. It's going, hey, motherfucker, it's only about the vibe. And so we became great friends. We ended up having a lot of fun together and going to Wimbledon and all that stuff. And he called me one time and goes, you know, man, every time I walk in the studio, I hear that little motherfucker going, only about the vibe, you know? So the point of that is that that's how it works. It's only about the vibe, you know?
And I guarantee you, they don't teach you that.
Yeah, we're not building, no, not at all.
Like they teach you all.
We're not building a fucking trauma center, you know? It's a goddamn recording studio. What do you do there? You have fun. You know, what did Jack Clement say? We're in the fun business. We're not having fun. We're not doing our job. You know, it's so true. It really is. I don't do this shit because it's like a nightmare. I do it because it's, God damn it, I'm working on something right now. It's unbelievably cool. You know, it's just for fun. You know, I think that's why I never cared about the money that much. I made money. I still make money, but it wasn't my driving force, you know. So I think you could learn how to do it. There's a book that F. Alvin Everest. It's out of print. He died, but that's how I learned to build studios. You want to learn how to build studios? It's called Acoustics for Home and Studio. It's available on Amazon. Used. Alton Everest is his name. Everything you ever want to know there, and lights, smell, vibe, all about the vibe.
So that's the first thought.
Yeah, I want to go someplace I don't want to leave. I come out here. You've been here.
Yeah.
You don't want to fucking leave. You know, I like sit here and listen to music all night long. You know?
Yeah. That's sick. So if you were to tell your 30-year-old something your 30-year-old self something.
Wait a minute.
Now.
Something. What's that mean? Man, woman?
No, like
There's only two
your
genders.
30-year-old self back in the day. If you were to tell him anything.
Oh, me.
If you could go back and tell him anything, what would you say?
Make money. Think about the money every now and then, you know, for God's sake, motherfucker. Every once in a while, you know, hey, man, you know, I probably ought to get paid for this. I don't mind doing it, but that's about it. I mean, we all got regrets. I mean, I handled my divorce so poorly. I really was surprised at myself. Divorce will make you crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't do that. That's not me, you know? As Chris Rock says so elegantly, man, I don't really agree with, let's see, what is it? What OJ did was terrible. I don't agree with it, but I understand, you know, and I thought, you're right. It's really brilliant if you think about it, you know? It's terrible. I don't agree with it. I understand.
Oh, man.
You got to be careful what you ask me.
Oh, this is great. So you got 2 girls, 2 daughters, or you got 2 kids, a son and a daughter?
Son and a daughter.
Yeah. And they're growing and doing great.
Yeah, I couldn't be more proud of them. One's a doctor and one's a lawyer. They told me they were going to put me in the nicest nursing home money could buy. And I thought, well, that's really sweet, you little fucker. Well, I will tell you a daughter story. I was at dinner one time, not too long ago, with a bunch of really heavyweight music business people, not the creative people. They were to some degree, but they're all business. And it was 9 of the top business people in the world. We were at a place here in town, Snot-nosed place here in town, having dinner. And one of them said to me, he said, you know, man, they were all younger than me. Your generation is melancholy about the music. That's what he mean. He goes, you're listening to the new music and you're going, well, that's not the Beatles. Well, that's not the Eagles. It's shit. It makes no sense at all. And he said, 90% of the time, you're probably right. He said, but what's happening is there's some really great stuff out there. And the fact that you're so melancholy and not going to listen to it, and I hate this shit, you start developing the inability to understand what other people are trying to do musically. And I thought, ooh, you know? So I smoked a joint and I started writing down what came from that. And I realized that I'm going to try to do this without getting emotional. My daughter has tattoos. She doesn't think politically like I do. She's different, you know? And we haven't gotten along very well. We haven't, I mean, we never became, I always love her and everything, but we couldn't have a conversation about anything, you know? And I realized, wait a minute, motherfucker, that's the same thing. You know, your expectations of what she was going to be like don't work for her. And who am I to judge that life is wrong? If she's happy, she's got a doctorate, you know, she's got a car, she eats, you know, who the fuck am I to put that on her? So I literally explained that to her, not in those terms, just, you know, I'm sorry. I just had these expectations that you didn't meet, and it's not fair of me. And it changed our whole life. We play doubles tennis now, and the kid is an unbelievable tennis player, but our relationship has never been more spectacular. It's a really big point in my life. You can apply that to a lot of things, not just family, but a lot of things. You know, sorry, you're not meeting my expectations.
Dang, that's beautiful.
Well, that's my testimony for today. No, but it's true, you know?
Yeah.
It was a real eye-opener. Now I look at things completely different.
Yeah.
There's some real good music out there,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Sure.
A really talented artist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, it's, you got to have an open mind too.
Yeah, that's hard to do this day and age, you know?
So.
Everybody's got a criticism about everything.
Yeah. All right, I could sit here for another 2 hours. We'll have to do another one. But what does kind of want to ask some Two more questions. What would be your advice to the 18-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever, in college, that has dreams, that wants to start a business? What would be your kind of go-to one piece of advice?
Oh God, I can't say that.
To them? And it can relate to anything. You could totally.
No, you don't understand. I'll tell you the truth after this. It's real easy. One of my friends is Walter Series, one of the most genius people on the planet, and lived in New York. Unbelievably successful. Never had credit. We went on a trip overseas. He couldn't get a credit card. He's a multimillionaire, but never had credit. Always carried cash. Paid for everything cash. His studio is world renowned. Sear Sound, the greatest studio in the world. Literally, still is today. He died. Fell off a cat and died. But anyway, a kid, he would hire interns, and the interns were always somebody that he could get along with. And so this kid came in there and he said, Walter said, so what experience do you have? And he goes, well, I don't have a whole lot of recording experience. He said, well, what the hell are you doing here? And he goes, well, I just know that this is what I want to do. And Walter said, well, what'd you do growing up? He said, my father had a cleaning service. He said, Walter said, so you know how to clean a toilet? He goes, well, yeah, that's what I did. He goes, you're hired. And he hired the kid. The kid now is Wilco's engineer. He does all the Wilco's records. And it came from the fact that you show up on time or before, you got integrity, and there's nothing you won't do, you know? I mean, if it's cleaning the toilet, that's it, you know? There's no boundaries. If you got to have integrity. My father used to say all the time, you got to be beyond reproach. Well, what the fuck does that mean? You know, everybody got a shit. We've all done things. But the truth of it is, integrity is number one. When you look somebody in the eye and you tell them this is it, it's got to be that way. You got to have integrity. You got to be on time. You got to be enthusiastic, and you got to be happy about what you're doing, no matter what it is. You know, you go to work at Burger King and you got a great attitude and you treat everybody the same, you'll own that fucking Burger King in 6 months. I believe that. I really do.
Yeah.
You know?
What does legacy mean to you?
That's an interesting question, too. I just started thinking about that. You know? I really and truly believe that I have a lot to offer still, knowledge-wise. I've never felt better physically. I feel like I'm 18. And I'm going to start a YouTube channel because everything I see, the interesting thing is now what the big comeback is, all the stuff I did, Altec speakers, vinyl listing rooms, immersive audio. This fucker's immersive. It's 2 goddamn speakers. If it's not immersive, you're not, you know, it's all those sort of things. So I want to share that information. I don't want to die with this information. Yeah. I'm the last outpost of common sense left in my business. I really firmly believe that. And I don't want to die without this information and just, you know, it goes away.
Yeah.
You know? So that's
no, you need a masterclass, man.
We just did one in LA at Anaheim in the NAMM show, myself and Zan, the girl who works with me, who I have the utmost respect for. And it's really funny because it's all these nerds that are doing audio and they're all like audio and they're, well, I have 2 degrees of audio from SOLs or wherever you went, you know, and they're all uptight. And so the whole NAMM thing is like really uptight. And I said, Zan, we're not doing that. We're going to get up on that stage and make those motherfuckers laugh. And she goes, okay, that sounds great. So the guy that's the head of the whole thing goes, well, what's your talk about? And I said, well, you asked us to talk about the future of recording studio design. And so I said, we're going to talk about what the Jetsons would do if they have a recording studio. Okay, well, how are you going to deal with that? I said, we're going to have the history of it. We're going to talk about the things that will never change because, you know, parking, security, all those things, they're never going to change. And then we're going to talk about what's going to happen in the future. And we'll give you examples of what happened. So we just made it totally comfortable, totally relaxed, said right off the bat, look, we're not public speakers. You know, we're just 2 people that are passionate about what we're going to do. So what we do every day, we're going to talk about it. We got the greatest applause after it was over. People ran up to start talking to us. I don't mean that arrogantly, but we just joked and laughed. And, I said, look, she's going to correct me at some point, in this thing, or I'm going to forget something and she's going to say something funny about it. And if she does, y'all just laugh. It's okay. We're okay. And so, some guys say, well, how do you know who your clients are? So we don't work with assholes. If we go to somebody and they want to build a studio and they're an asshole, not going to do it. I go to learn everything about them. I don't care about their budget. I don't care about anything. But if you're an asshole, ain't going to happen. I've fired a lot of clients, not a lot, few clients, because it's not going to succeed. The people at the top always hire people just like themselves, all the way down. So if you're an asshole, the only people you're going to hire are assholes just like you, because I can relate to that. And so if you've got a studio, that's a community. And how you build the people that work in that studio are going to be just like the owns it. It'll never survive if you're an asshole. So I'm not building studios for assholes. So most of my studios, Arlen, as an example in Austin, we built that studio in 86 or something. It's still one of the most successful studios in the country, because the people that own it, Freddie and Lisa Fletcher, are the sweetest people in the world. Same way with 1979. I didn't design that studio. Welcome, 1979. But those two guys are so comfortable to be around, and they make you feel, nobody remembers what you do. They only remember how you treat them, how you make them feel. And those guys treat people like they're real and they're positive. It'll work. So anyway, that's my legacy.
Great advice, man.
Cheers.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
If I don't get banned after this episode, I'll have you back.
Oh, we should talk about technical shit. That'd be fun.
If you got something out of this conversation, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow the show, subscribe, join the newsletter, and learn more about our guests at AmericanHustle.com. We're not here for noise. We're here for substance. Until next time, walk in faith, speak the truth, and stay dangerous. God bless, and God bless America. This is American Hustle.